Did you hear the news? Metro PCS is now Metro by T-Mobile. Now you get new plans with unlimited high-speed data all month long, all on the T-Mobile network. Check out the new Metro by T-Mobile today and discover the smarter way to get unlimited. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. During congestion, the fraction of customers using greater than 35 gigs per month may notice reduced speeds, and Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video streams at 480p. Coverage not available in some areas. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
I've been writing my songs and telling my stories. I finally got my songs played on the radio. I've been doing interviews around the country, and then one day a DJ asked me, "Can I pray with you?" He said, "Do you mind if we pray on the radio? Do you mind we talk about the Lord?" I truly believe that God's watching over you. You know there's no better company than Jesus while you're out on the road. I told the DJ right then I'd be more than happy share my thoughts and inspirations about my songs. I'm thankful God likes my music enough to ride with me. So if you're hearing my country music, then know that Jesus tags along. Do you mind if we pray on the radio? Do you mind if we talk about the Lord? I truly believe that God's watching over you. You know there's no better company than Jesus while you're out on the road. I know there's no better company than Jesus while we're out on the road.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 8 o'clock on a Thursday night. No, we did not have a show last night. My guest couldn't make it. This is Yvonne Mason. I am your host on Off the Chain. And we're going to talk about that song in a few minutes because I have the songwriter and the music artist that wrote and sings this song, and we got a lot to talk about with him. But first, I want to welcome each and every one of you to the show. As you all know, at every show, I tell you, thank you, that this is your show. It's not my show. I could sit here and chat all night. Nobody would care. But because of y'all, the show is heard in over 200 countries, and we are well over 200,000 strong. We're heard on iTunes and YouTube, FM.com, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, 2 shows on iHeartRadio, Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Podcast.com, and Podcast Garden. And those are just the ones that I link it up to. The show also goes up on third-party podcasts that I don't put it on. Someone else does. So the growth of this show in 2.5 years has been absolutely amazing. And some days, especially lately, when I get down and think maybe I'll just close the show down for a while and just step back, and then I think, nah, I can't do that because there are too many people that are counting on us. And y'all have been so loyal through the illness and death of my husband that I can't do that to y'all either, because I am nothing if not loyal to those who are loyal to me. So welcome to the show. There's 2 ways to get on the show. One, you can come on as a guest, and we are booked up until the end of January, ladies and gentlemen. That's how busy we are. But you can still sign up. Or if you want to place an ad, you can place an ad. I'm not in it to get rich. Don't want to get rich because it's just money. And what you do is you contact me on offthechainradio@yahoo.com, and I will tell you how to do it. But before we get started with our wonderful, wonderful guest who I absolutely adore, I want to go through some of our sponsors who I absolutely also adore. And Amy Lyle, y'all might know her. She's been a guest on this show. She's a comedian. She also lives in my hometown in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, she has a unique outlook on life. Most people hide their failures, but Amy wrote a whole book about hers. It's called The Book of Failures. The book opens with, I have been married for 20 years, not to the same people, but 20 years nonetheless. The book talks about relationships, how hard it is to blend a family, and just funny failures of everyday life. The reason it's been a bestseller for over a year is because it is so relatable. Everybody needs more laughter in their life. So buy it for yourself or for a friend or even someone you really don't like who's going through a hard time. Could change their attitude. The Book of Failures is available at some Barnes & Noble stores and on Amazon or an audio book. The Book of Failures by Amy Lyle. Get it today. Howard Levine has a new book out. It's called The Last Gasp. And Frank Tadici's niece is dead, one of thousands of victims of a terrorist attack which has been laid at the feet of Islamic radicals by a right-wing U.S. government. Frank, based on a chance encounter, is one of the very few people who questions the government's explanation. He's a Vietnam veteran who wants nothing more than to live without further controversy or conflict. Can he and his grieving brother Rob, a detective with the NYPD, obtain the necessary evidence to uncover the truth in the face of scorn and increased credibility? Can they overcome a long-term given that they are putting their lives in danger? And Last Gasp, a novel that resonates with today's politics. The answers to these questions unfold in a way that mingles personal and societal issues and intertwines the past and present while moving relentlessly forward. Most of y'all know Diane Moat. She's been on this show several times. Well, our favorite vigilante, Sam Holden, is back. The third book in the series, Dog Bones, is about Sam's quest to avenge abused animals, and her quest is threatened when the FBI comes after her on one side and the commissioner wants her dead on the other. Will her double life be exposed? Will Sam be able to protect her animals, her friends, and herself? Check out Dog Bones by Diane Moat everywhere ebooks are sold. And if you haven't yet read the series, you can start with the first book in the series called Dog Bone by Diane Moat on Amazon. Now, if you're into audiobooks, Audio Bookworm Promotions has a great deal for you. You can adopt. Don't shop for your next audiobook favorite. The Adopt an Audiobook program has new releases and audiobooks of every genre. All audiobooks are free to interested reviewers, and that's the caveat. You have to be willing to review the book after you listen to it. Simply listen and share your thoughts. audiobookwormpromotions.com/adopt an audiobook. Traveler Pelton has also been on this show. She has a special offer going on her website just for folks getting ready for holiday gift giving. She's offering postpaid sets of her trilogies for $25 a set, and she'll autograph them any way you like. She takes PayPal and will ship the sets out the next working day. So go to her website, travelerpelton.com, for all the details. And the latest book in the Oberlin series is called Terrorists, Traitors, and Spies. The middle generations of the Oberlins carry on the legacy of their father Noah by setting up a network of scientists, spies, and informants all over the globe. This book spans the generations from 19 to 1975, a time of change and growth. The family tries to stay out of the feud between Edison and Tulsa while beginning to investigate an elusive enemy network that grows in an underground jungle, which will plague them for generations. They survived 2 world wars, the Korean conflict and the Vietnam War, in spite of attacks on them personally from the enemy and their own government. Will the legacy of the Lynch negotiators carry the family through discrimination, hatred, and treason? Will there be another 7 generations of the people to carry on, or will they follow their ancestors into oblivion? Join the high-energy Oberlin family in yet of another traveler's tales of intrigue, technology, and history. Terrorists, traitors, and spies, available now on Amazon at Books A Million as an ebook or paperback. And again, go to her website, travelerpelton.com, and purchase the box set for $25. Now, back to this opening song. It's a brand new song, has not been out long. We are blessed with being able to give it to you tonight on the show. It was written and performed by my guest tonight, indie. Now, you have to remember, this is an indie country artist. His name is Richard Lynch. He has compiled a long list of country hits and chart toppers in the world of traditional country music. Richard's single, A Better Place, topped the New Music Weekly AM/FM Country Chart, the Indie World Country Record Report, and spent an incredible 32 weeks atop the Roots Music Report True Country Chart. His next 4 singles also topped the country airplay charts, including a duet with Grammy Award winner Rhonda Vincent. And Richard's last single, Country Music Isn't Country Anymore, went top 25 on the iTunes Canada sales chart. This man is absolutely magnificent. Richard is a multiple award-winning artist and a member of the Independent Country Music Hall of Fame, who has appeared on WSM Radio Nashville, WFD TV, and countless other media outlets. He is also the host of Traditionally Lynch, airing on TV and radio, and he's the founder of the Love Tattoo Foundation for Veterans, which we will talk about. Richard, I am so glad that you are back with me tonight.
Well, hey, Yvonne, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, hon.
Well, you know, it just seems like yesterday we talked, and we played all this wonderful music. Now, as a caveat, ladies and gentlemen, Richard was introduced to me through Michael Stover with MTS Management. Michael contacted me and he says, I have this whole list of artists. Would you be willing to interview them? And I said, of course. Every one of them has gone on to do great things. But Richard, I told Richard, the first time I heard his music and the first time I interviewed him, I said, Richard, hold on to your hat because you are going to go places. And boy, you went like a whirlwind.
Well, thank you. You did tell me that. And it's great to have folks believe in me and my music because, you know what I realized, Yvonne? There's such a need in today's world for traditional country music.
Amen. In fact, as I was setting your show, one of my girlfriends had been spending a few days with me, and I was playing the first song, the prayer on the radio. And when I finished playing it, she looked at me and she said, Yvonne, not only is he traditional, but he sounds like George Strait, Conway Twitty, and Travis Tritt all rolled up into one.
Wow, you hug her neck for me. Tell her I thank her so much.
I will. She was just blown away. I said, so it's not just me. She said, oh, no, not just you. So.
Well, I am so thankful to hear stories like that there. That song, A Pray on the Radio, has had an immense amount of interest around the country and around the world here the last, 4 or 5 weeks or however long it's been. I think about a month now it's been out. And I tell you how that song came to be. I was doing something, what we're doing right now. I was having a interview, but I was driving down the interstate. And normally I try to get off the interstate and conduct my interview to where I'm not battling traffic and, you know, that kind of thing. But the gentleman called me that day, and I was about 10 minutes before I could actually get to an exit to get off the interstate. And we're going on with the conversation and the interview on live FM radio out of California. and he'd seen that I'd been playing a lot of music around the country, and that I was very busy, and I was very fortunate. And he said these words, "Richard, the Lord must be traveling with you. You're a lot of places, and you're extremely busy." And I thanked him. I said, "I hope so. I think I need some help these days." And before I could say anything else, the disc jockey asked me, "Richard, do you mind if we pray on the radio?"
Wow.
I have never been asked that before, and I have never been asked that since. And me and my wife was driving in my pickup truck at that time. We were doing a Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky radio tour. And normally there would never be a pad of paper anywhere to be found, but that particular moment there was a pad of paper between me and my wife. And normally you would have to have a search warrant to find a pen, but there was a pen on the dashboard looking at me. So I'm driving down the interstate, left hand holding my phone, looking for a pen, kind of drive with my knee, and I grab the pen and I'm writing these words down. The actual conversation of the interview is the actual conversation in that song. And I'm driving down the road, and my wife was all big-eyed, and she was afraid I was trying to wreck and kill us both. So she grabbed a pad of paper and a pencil and the pen, and she was writing what I'm saying during the conversation. She's seen how intent that I was. It's like that inspiration hit me right then, right there, and the song had to be wrote. So that's exactly how that song came to be.
Well, I believe in divine providence because I think you and I've talked before. I have a very deep, abiding faith because I could not live without believing that God has the bigger picture and God has a plan. And I believe that God puts people in our lives at a time when we need them. And in this day and age, with the dynamic of society shifting and moral compasses shifting, I think we're going back to faith. And for that disc jockey to have enough faith to say that to you in an interview tells me that was the hand of God.
I think you're right, Yvonne. I've had lots of interviews recently in regards to this particular song, and the conclusion is that, on my behalf, the conclusion that I came up with is I just held the pen, and a divine intervention had to be there because, I would have never had that inspiration had I not had that conversation with that disc jockey. And you know what's really hard to believe, Yvonne? Me and my wife, we cannot, for the life of us, determine who that he was. That's
Wow.
what's really amazing. We cannot figure out who that disc jockey was. And at some point, I would love to have a call back from that gentleman and say, "Hey, I talked to you." I hope that happens someday. But it's just
Maybe
one more amazing.
Maybe he'll listen to this podcast and he'll call you. Stranger
I
things
hope so.
have happened.
I mean, you could not have planned this out any more strange, but how all this circumstances came to be. But I think it was meant to be.
Oh, absolutely. Just like it was meant to be for Michael to get in contact with me and give me this whole list of wonderful artists, and without exception, all of those artists that I've interviewed on this show, including you, I have watched their progression, and I have seen y'all climb the charts. I have seen y'all be nominated and win awards, and it's amazing to me that your journey is just mind-blowing. Who would have thunk it?
I agree 100%. But I'll go back to this. I was raised in a country music household. By that I mean my dad was an incredible singer and entertainer. I come from a little old town called Waynesville, Ohio. It's about 30 miles north of Cincinnati. But I was raised in that household, and every morning when I got up, my dad would be sitting there drinking his coffee, fixing to go to work, and he'd have that traditional country music on the radio. And at the ripe old age of 8 years old was the first time I ever got to go see my dad perform in a live setting. he was playing with a guy by the name of Porter Wagner. And I was so amazed that here I am. I got to go to the show with my mom and dad, and my dad is performing with this guy that I watch on TV every Saturday night. I'm like, oh, my goodness, my dad must be special. So here I am. I'm blown away, and just my chest is all swelled up at the ripe old age of 8, watching my dad perform with this guy I watch on television. And Dad had performed, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 songs maybe. And he looked down to my mom and said, Linda, that's my mom's name, said, send Richard up here to the stage. So I was in disbelief, but I ran up on the stage and I did an old song by Buck Owens called I Got a Tiger by the Tail with my dad's band. And the crowd response was amazing, especially when you're 8 years old. But I guess I've come to realize that at that moment I was bit by the country music bug, and I've been dedicated ever since to that traditional sound.
And look at you now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I asked Richard before the show how many awards he's actually won. He was nominated at my last count at 16. Now, he's got more than that sitting on his shelf. He's so humble and so appreciative that he doesn't even keep count. I mean, this man still works a farm every day. But because of your personality and your remaining true to your roots, I firmly believe that you're being rewarded for the good that you do, and we're going to talk about that, for the good that you do, and for staying true and staying humble and giving the glory to where it belongs.
Well, thank you. I have a lot of folks I need to thank. My wife is probably, well, there's not probably, she is my biggest fan, and she has been for a long time. And she has believed in me, and we have together. This music thing has really started to blossom. And I owe a lot of thanks to so many fans around the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, that has spent time and money and following us around and supporting us for all these years. And I'm so grateful to this day, Yvonne. I hear people tell me things like, well, we knew you were going to be in our part of the world here, and we took off a couple days vacation, and they would drive 200, 400, even 600 miles to come see us play. And that absolutely just blows me away that someone would think enough of me and my music for them to do that. I'm so appreciative to so many folks that do that. And this is the reason they do it, Richard, is because they know you appreciate it. And with that caveat, I want to play a song, and then we're going to talk about what that song represents. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, with the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Richard Lynch. I told him that if he ever makes it to South Florida, I'll stand in a line to go to his concert, and he can stay at my house. No, there will not be a mob at my house. We'll be right back.
Loves his God, his kids, his wife. For them, he gladly give his life. He served his country as many do, and he came home with a love tattoo. I remember when the soldier walked past. He paused as he heard a young child ask, "Where'd you get that scar I see on you?" He smiled and said, "It's not a scar, it's my love tattoo." Soldier said, "To keep our world more safe for you, I fought what I knew I had to do. No, it's not a scar, it's my love tattoo. My love tattoo is a symbol to remind him how we fought with pride for our red, white, and blue. If Uncle Sam asked him to stand with our soldiers in some foreign land, he'd unpack his uniform and combat boots, and with honor bring back home a new love tattoo. My love tattoo helps me recall some of my friends who gave their all. They fought and died as many do, so I'm proud to wear my love tattoo. He loves his God, his kids, his wife. For them, he gladly gave his life. And he served his country like heroes do. And he came home with a love tattoo. Yes, he came home with a love tattoo.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Love Tattoo, that was written and performed by my guest, indie country music artist Richard Lynch. Now, Richard, every time I hear that song, it brings tears to my eyes. There's a reason behind that song, because you give back. Again, this is another reason why I really, really believe that you have become as successful as you have in an industry that's hard enough for mainstream artists, much less indie artists. And that's because you have a foundation, and it is called the Love Tattoo Foundation. Explain how all that works and why.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. I grew up in a household that really appreciate our men and women of the military, and to this very day, as far as I'm concerned, we can't do enough for them. So that song came to be. There was a friend of my wife's that was named Chuck Brisbane, who lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And at that time, Afghanistan was kind of going pretty hot and heavy. And every evening he'd watch the news and he'd see these soldiers come back, and they were being shot up, and it was pretty heart-wrenching. So Chuck decided that he wanted to go and just meet one of these soldiers. So he went to the hospital the next day, and he went to this particular soldier's room that was on TV. Or he wasn't on TV, but they were talking about him the previous night. So he went to that soldier's room the next day, and on that soldier's door, he had wrote a note and posted it on his door. If you're coming here to feel sorry for me, please leave. So that touched Chuck immensely, and he wrote a poem. And he sent the poem to my wife. He said, Donna, please ask Richard if he would put some music to this. So I said, I put some music to his poem, and I realized it needed just a little bit more help. So me and another friend of mine, a Nashville songwriter, Terry Dennis, got together, and we wrote the chorus part of it and the bridge, and we put it all together and recorded the song, and we started playing it in and around our area. There's some musicians that I've been playing with for many, many, many years, And we started performing it around our Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana area. And the next thing you know, we're getting a multitude of different requests for it. Well, it just so happened that we were going to do a show with Ronnie McDowell. And Ronnie had some major hits in the 70s and 80s and was just a major influence in the industry. And I've always loved Ronnie McDowell's music. Well, we got to do our show with him, and it was brought to my attention that Ronnie McDowell did 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. So I went from loving the man's music to now loving the man.
Absolutely.
And I got to talking, and our manager, Randy Hayford, had sent out a note to Ronnie after the show was over. Said, Richard has this song, and I was wondering if you would consider listening to it, and if you like it, maybe we could get together and do a duet together. So Ronnie heard it, and he agreed to do the duet with me, and we got in the studio, and the proof is in the song. It turned out pretty amazing. And the best part about this whole story is the fact that we have dedicated every penny that gets raised on the sale of that song to a place in Michigan called the Whirlwind Lodge. And any and all American veterans are welcome there. If they need a little R&R or some place to just communicate and talk, there's a place that exists that helps our American veterans. And me and Ronnie feel strongly about the fact that we can give a little back, and we're just proud that we can do just give a little bit back for those folks that are so well deserving.
Yeah, because they gave all.
That's exactly right. Some of them did.
And their families, what people of non-military families don't understand is when a military personnel goes off to serve, the family serves as well.
Yep.
And
that's exactly right.
And they sacrifice as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are so deserving of what we who stay behind can do for them, because they do it with a free will. They sign up to go do this. They do it with a willing heart and a calm spirit, and not for glory for themselves, but to take care of us. And when I see people, especially Vietnam was my generation's war, and when our men came back and they were treated so badly, I was embarrassed to be an American because of the way that our personnel were treated. And it wasn't their fault. They had to go fight a war. It's what happened. They were in the military. They were called to duty. They had to obey the command. And so I hope that through the years that we have taken that tarnished, ugly tar brush and thrown it away, and maybe can treat our veterans the way they deserve to be treated.
Very well said.
This song, it brings tears to my eyes because it is a love tattoo.
Well, I mentioned earlier my wife, Miss Donna. She is actually the backbone of everything that we do, and the music. She'll tell you she don't carry a note, but she's as much, or if not more, involved in music than anybody. And I work a 5-piece or 6-piece band, and we travel a lot, and I wouldn't trade nothing for all my musicians. But my wife, Miss Donna, she is by far the backbone in this music thing, because she believes in me so much. And then we got this song, that we put together, the Love Tattoo, and she came up with the idea to create the foundation and really have a meaning behind it and a cause behind it. Just goes to show you that traditional country music can be diverse for one thing, but it can also help and it can also be a benefit to a lot of people in a lot of different ways around the country and around the world.
Excuse me, that is true. What does the foundation do, and where can people go find it to help with it?
Well, the best way to find the Love Tattoo Foundation is to just go to my website, richardlynchband.com, and you can scroll down and see the Love Tattoo Foundation. It will explain as to all the different things and the shows that we do each year, and it talks about the Whirlwind Lodge, which is a 1,200-acre facility in Michigan, has a 60-acre fishing lake, and our veterans can relax and kind of get their mind off certain things. And like I say, it's not a lot that we do, but we feel we should give our part back to those veterans, and that's just our little way of being thoughtful and want them to know that we care about them.
And Richard, would it also be fair to say that they can go to this place and feel free to talk about their demons with each other, because they of all people understand each other? When men say war is hell, that is an understatement. And unless you have been in that situation, one has no idea what those men and women go through that stay with them the rest of their lives.
That's exactly right. And, there is a doctor that they can see up there, a psychiatrist, if they need to talk to somebody, or they can just have some camaraderie of knowing that they've got some fellow GIs, guys and gals, that go up there to that Whirlwind Lodge. And, it's pretty special. But, I hear things like 18 or 20, maybe even 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and that's unacceptable to me and my wife. And so if there's a little something that we can do to create a place and help support a place to where they can kind of get their head around things and reevaluate their lives, I think that's something that is worth doing.
And to understand, they still have worth, and they're still part of our present and our future. And when they take their own life, they've cut that thread that we can never weave back into the fabric of our present and future. And we have to help them understand they have worth, and they have something to contribute to society, to us personally, to us individually, to us collectively, to themselves, to their families, to their children's future, to strangers' futures.
This is so true. I think it's a great cause, and I'm glad. I'm really glad that the song came my way, and the fact that my wife's seen the need to pursue that end of things, and it's been a benefit to a lot of folks, and it's been a benefit to me. I realized through my wife basically that you can do a lot and be successful, but when you start learning to give things away and help people, it's amazing how much good things come your way. Just be willing to help people. Truer words, my friend, have never been spoken, because I have seen you grow like an atom bomb. You just, boom, there it was. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your with my guest, the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful country music artist Richard Lynch. And I'm going to play another one of his songs. It's called Mending Fences, and then we're going to talk about it, because this was another song that I played when he was on the show the last time, and it has a message just like country and western music does. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it has a message. So we'll be right back. They all do.
Living in the modern day, electronic super age, nothing's done the way it used to be. Nobody writes a letter or shows up in the worst of weather on the front porch with a rose and an apology. Now it's email or iPhone message. That's the only way to catch you, but you don't call back or come online. So I sit and stare at your Facebook picture, The only way to get back near you is cut and paste your face next to mine. It looks good and it matches up. What a shame that ain't us, like it used to be once upon a time. What I'd give to have you back, how I'd love another crack, just one more chance to get it right. But now it's email or iPhone message, and that's the only way to catch you. But you don't call back or come online. So I sit and stare at your Facebook picture. The only way to get back near you is cut and paste your face next to mine. Now it's email or iPhone message, and that's the only way to catch you. But you don't call back or come online. So I sit and stare at your Facebook picture. The only way to get back near you is cut and paste your face next to mine. Yeah, it looks like I've blown forever. The only way we'll be together is cut and paste your face next to mine.
And that was Mending Fences. I am your host, Yvonne Mason. This is Off the Chain with the songwriter and singer of that song, Richard Lynch. Richard, that song is so true, it's not even funny.
Well, it just goes to show you that, traditional country music can be relevant in today's modern world. There is...
Absolutely.
And it's, great country music is so diverse. I mean, just think about it. You've got honky-tonk, you've got hard-driving country, you've got those ballads, you've got those great country western songs. But traditional country music can be so diverse and so meaningful, even in a modern, high-tech world that we live in today.
Because the theme is the same. Heartache, alcohol, running around, lost love, found love, saying I'm sorry. It's the base is all the same.
I think you're right. There's just a lot of good emotions. True traditional country music is an emotion. That is an emotion, and I'm fortunate enough that I can take my emotion and put it to music, because a good country song, or a good song in general, is from an emotion. If you can take your emotion and let somebody else hear it, and that touches them, then all of a sudden, I've had people tell me, well, Richard, when I heard that song, it's like you sang it or you wrote it for me. But that just tells you that you're making a connection with folks, because they want to have that feeling. They want to get that feeling from their music. You know what I mean?
And that's what makes you the top of the heap, or as we say out here in my world, the cream of the crop. I mean, you just rose right to the top of that milk bottle like you were born to it, and you were. I mean, when your father says come sing, and you had to pick one of the hardest songs to sing at 8 years old.
I did. That was a song that I grew up singing all the time around the house. My dad always knew that I was going around singing that song, and he said, "Well, we're going to make you shine, son." So he did just that.
and ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard that song's been around since I was a kid, and I'm 67 now, and it is a very hard song to sing because it changes rhythm and it changes tone from the chorus to the verses. Am I right?
Absolutely. It's just, but it's a great song, and that's a classic example of just people having the need and the want to be entertained and connect with the singer and the artist.
That's true. And the name of the song, ladies and gentlemen, is Tiger by the Tail. Now, because we have talked about this song, Richard, you know that you're going to have to release that as a cover song just to appease me so that I can play it and I can travel back in my childhood.
My wife just now joined me here. We're setting up for a show tomorrow evening, and she just came out we're in the Sprinter now, and she just popped in, and I'm going to have to tell you, Yvonne wants me to re-record I Got a Tiger by the Tail so she can record it. She's all excited. She's been telling me the same thing.
See, okay. All right, there's an old adage that if one person calls you a jackass, you pretty much can ignore it. If two people call you jackass, you might want to think about it. And when that third person calls you a jackass, guess what? You're a jackass. So now two people have told you need to record that song. So I guess you better get busy, Richard.
I think you might be right, Yvonne.
That would be such a fun song for you to do, especially now with the caveat of that. Think about it. That was your first public appearance as an indie artist when you stood up on that stage, and I can see it in my head, an 8-year-old boy with this wonderful band behind him in the presence of his idol, Porter Wagner, with your heart pounding, your palms probably sweating, and your knees knocking, and you sing one of the hardest songs out there at the time, and you did it well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a memory that will always be there. My dad was. I get asked often, who's some of your big influences? Who influenced you a lot? And I tell them, people like Conway Twitty and Keith Whitley were two of my biggest influences. But really, the biggest influence I had was my dad because he was such a great singer and a guitar player. I wanted to learn and sing and play like him, and I have to say, Dad was truly my biggest hero.
And from the sounds of it, not only was he your biggest hero, but he was also your biggest fan because he encouraged you to be the man that you are and the man that he knew you would become.
I think you're right, and I used to take Dad on the road with me. We would go play a show in Baltimore or Maryland, or we would be in Missouri or Georgia, wherever we would be. I would take him on the road with me. He never knew a stranger, and I just loved that about him. How he was always warm and friendly, and he just kept true to what he was and didn't try to be anything he wasn't. And I learned that that's probably a pretty good trait to try to follow. So it worked good for my dad. I thought, so I'm going to keep the next generation going, you might say.
Absolutely, and it's working for you. I know you probably get sick of hearing it, but I cannot express how proud I am to know you, to have been able to have interviewed you, to see your success, and my face lights up every time I see country music artist Richard Lynch nominated for yet another award. And I'm going, go Richard.
That's so amazing. I'm just amazed how everybody is, clamoring and rooting for us because, we've been doing it an awful long time. I did an interview here recently in Missouri, and the disc jockey said, Richard, we've been hearing your name and your songs for the last couple of years, and you're here and you're here and you're there and you're there and you're doing this, you're doing that. She said, you're just an overnight success, she said. And then I paused and I said, yep, 35-year overnight success.
Well, it took you a little bit longer, but there you go. But think about this, Richard. in the 35 years that you have been doing this, most people would have quit because they would have said, it's taken me too long to reach the top of the mountain. My darling friend, you have not reached the top of the mountain yet.
Oh, well, thank you.
And
well, I have to tell you
that before you say that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say something that I told him I was gonna say, and he will have reached the top of the mountain when this happens. His name is in the hat for a Grammy Award. Now, y'all get hold of whoever you need to get a hold of and tell them to pull his name out of the hat, because this gentleman is so deserving of a Grammy Award. If anybody, this man has stuck with it through thick and thin, through highs and lows. And I'm going to tell you, being on the road ain't easy. Performing weeks at a time is not easy. And his dedication, his love for the craft, his love for country music, and his love for the fans, he deserves this Grammy. I rest my case, Your Honor. You may continue, sir.
Well, thank you so much. I sure hope that comes to happen for us. But I was just going to tell you,
have a tendency, don't they?
That you're exactly right. That's exactly right. But I've said it a couple times. The reason that we've stuck with it and the music has been good to me is because my wife believes in me. She said, Richard, we're going to see where this ride takes us, and I owe it all to her. I'll just put it that way.
And the good Lord upstairs.
Oh, absolutely. The man upstairs is riding with me, and then the song says, "There must be riding with me." I do believe he is riding with me for sure.
And there's something that is still unfinished. There's a path that you were taking that you haven't gotten there yet, but there's something coming. I feel it, and that all of this is going to accumulate, and when it happens, it's going to blow you away. Well,
I sure hope you're right. I have people tell me that on a regular basis these days, and I hope to goodness that they're exactly right. I have one big goal in life that I would like to say I have done that I haven't done yet. But I would like to say that I got to perform on the Grand Ole Opry, and maybe if we keep going, that might just very well happen.
It's coming, my friend. It's coming. Well, and I want you to send me a ticket, because I'll take a plane out of here, and I'll be there in the front row.
Well, we'd love to have you in the front row and backstage if that happens, I can tell you, Yvonne.
I'm there. Y'all heard it first on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Lynch, Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. That is the epitome. That is the crown that every country music artist wants to wear, because that tells the country music industry and the industry as a whole, they have arrived. Am I right?
You're right. I hope it happens for me. Keep my fingers crossed.
Oh no, it's happening. Trust me, my friend, it is happening. So, with that being said, would you believe our hour's coming to an end?
Wow, already?
Already. Wow.
It's been a blast to get to sit and talk with you again.
And you'll come back, right?
Oh, anytime you want me, I'll be. You just reach out to Michael Stover or Randy Hayford or my wife Donna and all the folks that take care of me. I'll make sure that we get on here with you anytime you want to.
Oh, Michael loves to have you on this show. I'm going to tell you. He says, Yvonne, is Richard on your side this week? I said, don't you know it? He is. I said, let me hear music. So when I heard prayer on the radio, like I said, my girlfriend about fell out in the chair.
Oh,
she
thank you so much.
So when you get new music, you got to let me know so we can get you back on here. And I've got even one I didn't get to play, and that was Back in Love Again that you duetted with Rhonda.
That song was really big for us, and it still does a lot for us. And Rhonda Vincent, she's a true joy to work with and a great lady to be around.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get Richard to tell you where he can be found. And no, you can't go now. You got to wait till the show's over. Go and download his music and spread it everywhere so he can get a Grammy Award and on the Grand Ole Opry. And now you have the floor, my friend.
Well, thank you once again for letting me be a part of your show, Yvonne. You're a class act. But the best way to contact me or to find out about our music is to go to richardlynchband.com, and you can see all the different places we're playing and all the different things that we're doing around the country and all the interviews we're doing, like with you, Yvonne. But richardlynchband.com, that's the place to go.
And he's on Reverb Nation, too, ladies and gentlemen. And he has a Facebook page called the Richard Lynch Band. He also has a Twitter account, the Richard Lynch Band, Wikipedia, Richard Lynch Musician. And if you want to interview him, contact Michael Stover at MTS Management Group. Michael is on Facebook as well. Get a hold of him because Michael will certainly hook you up. Now, Richard, don't hang up when the show goes dark. Because I'll want to tell you, what I always tell you at the end of the show. But thank you so much. Thank you for being the man that you are, for being the artist that you are, for sharing your craft, and for doing the Love Tattoo Foundation and taking care of our veterans. Because that, there's an old adage that character is what someone does when no one's looking, and that is what you do with the Love Foundation. And you have a lot of
welcome.
character.
You're so welcome, and I thank you for having me, dear.
And ladies and gentlemen, we will be back tomorrow night with a return musician, J.J. McGowan. He is amazing. And, there's a couple of things I say at the end of the show, and they're important because we're all on a journey. When you see a veteran, thank them for their service. When you see a cop, thank them for their service, because both of those entities sacrifice so much for us. Their families sacrifice so much for us. They never know when their loved one walks out the door if they're going to return home in one piece, or if they're going to get the visit by the chaplain or the cops, superiors, or the armed forces commander. They don't know if they're going to get that visit, and nobody wants that visit. So thank them and thank their families. People will forget your name. They will forget what you look like. They'll forget what you're wearing, but they will never, ever, ever forget how you have made them feel. We're all on a journey, ladies and gentlemen, and some days that journey gets a little bit rough. And if you can help someone along their journey by saying something nice to them, just something soft and nice, a second of your time, no matter how bad a day you're having, say something nice. It makes a difference. If you want to achieve greatness, please stop asking permission, because there is no one that is going to give it to you. And the reason for that is because you are already great. You just have to believe it. Teach your children they are. They are our future. And without them, we have no future. For every veteran that we lose, and for every child that we lose, for every person who commits suicide, we lose a piece of our future. So when you see someone who's hurting, when you see a veteran that needs help, or when you see a child who is being bullied or has no self-worth, encourage them to hang around, because it will get better. And without them, we have no future. Richard has been an absolute jewel. Go, and he says he's coming to South Florida. He best come to South Florida so I can go stand in line to see him, because I would. I don't stand in line for people, but I'll stand in line for Richard, because he is wonderful. Go and get his music. Look up his website. Join his fan page, his Twitter page, his Reverb Nation page. Look for new music. Spread it around. Tell folks he needs that Grammy. Do what you got to do. Put it out there in the universe. And listen for him to come and join us again on the show. I am your host, Yvonne Mason. I encourage you to join us again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time here on Off the Chain, where we will have another independent music artist. I love those people. They're so wonderful. Until then, I want to wish you all a good evening. Hug your children, hug your spouses, love yourself, like yourself, and know that tomorrow is a new day. So until we see you again tomorrow night, this is Yvonne Mason on Off the Chain with my guest, the one and only country music artist, next Grammy Award winner, Richard Lynch, and we want to tell you all good night. Okay, the show's off the air. So what I will do, like I did last time, Richard, when the show goes in, he's already dropped. Okay.
As a busy weatherman, people rely on me for up-to-the-minute weather reporting, which means I need energy to keep me going throughout my day.
Well, right now, you can get 2 Dunkin' Bacon, Egg, and Cheese sandwiches for $5.
Well, in that case, the forecast calls for rain, sun, partly cloudy, high-low, scattered, isolated, umbrella jacket, flip-flops with a 100% chance of look it up on the internet. I've got sandwiches to eat. Humidity, dew point.
Get 2 Dunkin' Bacon, Egg, and Cheese sandwiches for $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.